Welcome back, aliens. My name is Navin Reddy, and let's continue with the series on Python. Now, till this point, we have talked about functions, right? And now we know how to pass parameters as well. But when you talk about parameters, or you can call them as arguments, we have different types of arguments we can work with. Of course, arguments are arguments at the end, but then we can use in different way. So what I'm talking about here is, let's say I want to add two numbers. A very simple example, I would just want to add two numbers here. So what I will do is I will say def, I will get a method name as sum, the function name as sum, and here I will mention two variables. Of course, right, when you want to add two numbers, we need to ask for two values, right? And we can give them name as A and B. So in A we'll be having the first number, in B we'll be having second number, right? And in order to define that, we have to put a colon at the end, and you will say C equal to A plus B. Now you have a choice here. You want to add, when you want to print the value here itself, or you want to return, but that's not the main concern for this video. So time being, I will simply print it. What is important here is, when you call this function which is add, you have to pass two values. You cannot simply say add, right? Of course, you have to pass values. So when you are accepting an argument here, you need to pass the argument as well. Otherwise, it will give you error, right? You can see. So when you press the control button and if you hover there, it says we have to pass two parameters, right? Now in that case, if I pass 5 and 6, so we are passing two values, right? Now these are called as arguments. So the things which are accepting here, they are arguments. Even this is an argument. Now this A here, so this A, B here, they are called as a formal argument. So we have two names here. We have formal arguments and we have actual arguments. So when you define it, it is formal. And when you pass the value, when you are calling a thing, which is called as actual argument, because you're actually passing something, right? So this actual itself, the actual arguments has four types. It is position, keyword, default, and variable length arguments. So let's start with the first one. Again, it's not that difficult, it's just with different names. Okay, so when you pass a value, example, if I want to pass 5 for this A, of course it is position, right? In fact, just for this example, we will take a different names, okay? We will take a different method name. I will say the function name is person, and instead of, so when you talk about a person, there are two things that are very important here. The first one is name, and second one is age. So we want these two parameters. And of course, you have to pass them as well. So if I change this, let me just change all the values here. So I've defined the function which is person. It takes two arguments. One is name and age. And so I'm calling person by passing name and age. So name is Navin and age 28. So if I run this code, you can see we got the value. It is working perfectly, right? Now, how do we know that this Navin is going in name and 28 is going in age? So that's where positions comes into picture. If you have 10 variables and if you want to make sure that the values are assigned to the particular variable, we have to take care of the position. You cannot simply exchange the position, okay? So positions are very important here. So when you are only depending on the positions, then of course we have to maintain a sequence. But what if I don't know the sequence? So let's say I have defined this function somewhere else, okay? I don't have the access to this function. What I know is there's a person function which takes two parameters, name and age, but I'm not sure about the sequence. In that case, example, if I forgot the sequence here, and instead of passing Navin first, I'm passing 28 and then I'm passing Navin. This is where the problem starts, because we are passing a number first and then we are passing a string. Of course, in this case, it will work. It will not give you any error. Of course, you will get the output in a different format, the way you are passing. But let's say if you are performing some operations on age, I want to print the age -5. That's what we all do, right? So whatever age is, we always say -5 with that. And if I run this code, you can see this is where the problem starts, because you cannot simply subtract a number by a name, because so Navin is getting passed in age, right? That's where the problem is. I don't want to do that. I don't want to assign the value 28 to name and Navin to age. In that case, if you don't know the sequence, you can simply say, hey, age equal to 28 and name equal to Navin. So in this case, we are using keywords, right? So when you say keyword, it means you are mentioning the variable name itself. So variable is age, which is 28, and variable is name, which is Navin. In this case, it will work. Okay, you can see we got Navin and 28. So this is the keyword arguments. The next argument is default. Now what it means? Example, I want to pass a name and I don't want to pass an age, because by default, like, let's say if you want to open an account in social networking website like Facebook, maybe there's a criteria that you should be 18 to join a Facebook profile. Now in this case, if I pass a age, that's well and good. If I'm passing an age which is 28, that's well and good. What if I don't pass the age? So in that case, what I want is, by default, the age should be 18. So if I'm not passing the age, which means it should be 18. But in this case, if I run this code, it will give you error because you are expecting two variables and we are passing only one. This is wrong, right? So in this case, what you can do is you can mention, hey age, don't feel bad. While calling a function, if you're not getting the value, don't worry, just assign the default value. That's completely fine. Just run this code and it works, okay? So if you're not passing a value, it will take the default value. But what if I pass a value? In that case, it will override the existing default value. So you can see in this time it was 28. That's default. So once we have talked about default, keyword, and position, let's go with very important function arguments, which is variable length arguments. Now what that means? To understand this variable length argument concept, I will change the function again. Let's get back to sum because it will make much more sense there. Of course, you can take different example, but then let me take sum there. Or we can say add function, but let's say sum. Sum takes two parameters a comma b, and here I just want to add those two values. I will say c equal to a plus b, and I just want to add them now. I want to pass 5 comma 6, and of course I missed one thing. I want to print the sum, which is c. Okay, now will this work? Let's verify. So if I say shift F10, it works. You can see we got 11. So when you say you want to add two numbers, right? See, we don't always add two numbers. Maybe sometime we want to add three numbers. Maybe we want to add five numbers, because in calculator we can do that, right? We can say 2 plus 3, and then we can also say plus 4 plus 5 plus 6 plus 10 plus 100. We can do that. How can I pass multiple values here? So maybe as a user, you want to say, hey, I'm not sure how many values I want to add. Maybe I will pass two more values. You should be able to do that. Okay, so as a developer, it's your responsibility, right? If you're defining a function, make sure your function accepts multiple values. Then what you will say, hey, we will create multiple functions, We create multiple functions with different parameters or different arguments. We can do that. But the thing is, don't you think it will be very lengthy process? So that's where we have a variable length argument concept. What it means is you can define a function where the number of arguments are not fixed. So in this case, you can say, hey, at least we have one parameter, right? At least we'll be having one argument. Of course, if you want to add two numbers, we will be having at least two arguments. So the first one is confirmed. The second one, length, is not confirmed. So in this B, I might accept one variable or one value or multiple values. In that case, you will say star B. Star B means it can have multiple values. So this 5 will be assigned to this A, and this 6, 34, and 78 will be assigned to B, okay, as a tuple. Now let's run this code, let's verify. Okay, we got an error. The error is, see, there is no error while calling it. The error is with the help of int and tuple, right? So we cannot simply add an integer and a tuple because A is integer and B is tuple. Okay, and how do we add this value? That's the question, right? So first of all, before adding this values, what I will do is I will print the value of A just to verify what is happening, and I want to print the value of B just to verify. Let's run this code, and you can see we got 5 and we got a tuple which is 6, 34, and 78. So it perfectly makes sense, right? Now, how will you add this value? Of course, the first value is fixed. So what we can do is we can say C is equal to A. Initially, C will have the value of A, and then we'll fetch one value from the tuple and we'll add it to C, right? That's the plan. So I will take for I in my B, which is tuple, and in this case, I will say C is equal to C plus I, right? That's how you iterate. So every time your loop runs, it will add the new value to C, and at the end, we'll print the value of C. That's the complete idea. Let's run this code, and oh, we got an error. Okay, that was an indentation problem, so I have given one extra space, and you can see it works. We got 123. That is what we wanted, right? So this works great. In fact, we can do some customization here. What if I say I will simply mention B star? Okay, so it doesn't matter how many values you pass. Why do we even need A array, right? So if I pass 4 values, everything will be there in B. So in that case, initially you will say C equal to 0. That's the only change you have to make, and everything works the way it is, right? So because you're not passing A, so we are not using A, so let's remove A, right? So that's it. That's how we use a variable length argument. So in fact, it's not just integers. You can pass integers, string, or float together. That's fine. You can try it out, and let me know your question in the comment section. So that's it. We have talked about different types of arguments in this video. We have talked about default, position, keyword, and variable length arguments. So I hope you're enjoying this session. Let me know in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.